Yes. Yes. Well, welcome back to Tuesday, Bro Tuesday. I love it when the intro works. Man, I love it when the intro works. Welcome back, you guys, to Tuesday, Bro Tuesday. You know, Tuesday, Bro Tuesday used to be a live call-in show, and I think that someday it's going to go back to that. Someday it's going to go back to a live call-in show. But now this Tuesday, Bro Tuesday has become like news roundup time. And we're going to talk a lot today about our main topic, that is nicotine. Nicotine. That evil old guy, nicotine. We don't know much about it. Apparently, the general public doesn't know anything about nicotine. Apparently, our elected officials, policymakers, lawmakers, public health committee members, they all seem to have a memory lapse when talking about nicotine. So that's it. That's what we're going to discuss today. We're going to be discussing nicotine. We're going to be reading some articles that I'm really looking forward to. I got 2 articles that I wanted to talk about today, but the first one, I guess the first thing we have to mention this is that I need to adjust my microphone just a little bit, and that's okay. Just the first thing that needs to happen. That's fine. Lock my phone. I was just browsing Instagram. I'm just sitting here browsing Instagram, just nothing, just waiting for the stream to start. That's fine. So now that we're back on track, the first thing I have to mention, and apparently Michigan had a little bit of a win today, you guys. Had a little bit of a win today. Joe Mamba, first super chat out of the gate. Freedom, bro. Freedom. What's up, Grim? Damn right, freedom, bro. Freedom. What's up with you, Joe? We're just hanging out talking about nicotine today. And if anybody's going to super chat today, which is never expected or dissuaded from. If you're going to super chat, let's try to keep the super chat on message. I mean, we're going to be discussing nicotine today, and I know sometimes super chatters, someone gets in there and is like, "Hey, bro, I love your stuff. What's a good RTA?" I'm like, we weren't even talking about RTAs. You know, I like to keep. I just like to keep it on. I just like to keep it on topic. So the first thing we're going to mention today had some pretty good news out of Michigan. Michigan judge has blocked Governor Wittmer's flavor ban. Nope, I'm not making this up. It's actual news. Greg Connolly tweeted about it. Who else tweeted about it? Azim Chowdhury tweeted about it. And Bo LaFave, a representative up in Michigan, Bo LaFave absolutely tweeted about this today. But I'm just going to read this quick little news excerpt from Click On Detroit. Judge blocks Governor Wittmer's flavored vape ban. And this is just a quick little one, so I don't feel like I need to go to like the article reading thing. I think we can be good here. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Yeah, that's the right one. No, this one. There we go. That's the right one. I don't know if we need to go into this mode, but we can definitely go into this mode. Lansing, Michigan. A Michigan judge is blocking the state's 2-week-old ban on flavored e-cigarettes. Court of Claims Judge Cynthia Stevens, which, shout out to Cynthia Stevens for being a law-abiding judge and being a rational law-abiding judge. Court of Claims Judge Cynthia Stevens issued a preliminary injunction Tuesday. She says government Gretchen Whitmer's administration's delay in implementing the ban undercuts its position that emergency rules were needed. Exactly. So Gretchen Whitmer comes out of the gate saying this is a huge problem, and she's conflating these issues. It's flavors are attracted to kids, kids are attracted to flavors, but also people are dying from vaping. So these are 2 separate issues that I'm going to tackle by banning nicotine flavors, and I'm instituting emergency powers to do this. Emergency powers. Emergency rules to do this. And the emergency rules were kind of like 2 weeks. It's like, it's an emergency, but it's not that. I'm going to give you 2 weeks. I mean, it's an emergency, but we're still going to give you like 14 days to take care of all this stuff. It's an emergency, and I'm going to use my emergency rules and my emergency powers. We're just going to give you a few weeks, and I think the judge saw that. Stevens also says that there is evidence that if flavored vaping products are prohibited, adults will return to using more harmful combustible tobacco products. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm pumped that the judge saw that. I'm pumped that the judge heard testimony or was given good information about this whole situation in Michigan. It says the lawsuit was filed. Hang on. Sorry, it must have been those dank vapes carts. Stevens also says there is evidence that if flavored vaping products are prohibited, adults will return to using more harmful combustible tobacco products. The lawsuit was filed by vaping businesses. That say they will go out of business due to the ban. Wittmer has said the ban is necessary to combat the epidemic of teens vaping. Except that's not really 100% true, is it? That's not probably 100% true, is it? That's not what Governor Wittmer initially said. She initially imposed this because of the lung illnesses and people getting sick in the state from vaping contaminated black market THC dab carts. That was the original reason for this emergency rules of banning flavored nicotine products. Wasn't because of the youth using it. It was because she put her whole platform on that. These are dangerous. That's what she said. These are dangerous. God, I'm going to try to find this. I'm going to show you guys this clip right here. I should have done this first. Particles. I have a clip of Governor Gretchen Whitmer talking about the things that they found inside of these e-cigarettes. Yeah, here it is. Good Lord. I hope we're going to be able to hear this. Let's see if we can. Why is there no video? That's an MO. Oh, I did the wrong one. Why did it do that? This one. Yes, that one. I think this will work. Okay, there she is. There's Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So we're going to listen to Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Just speak nonsense words. Let's listen for a hot minute here. Let's see. I hope we can all hear it.
And they found medical particles in them. This is a health crisis that we're confronting.
Did anybody else catch that? Did anybody else catch Governor Gretchen Whitmer being so out of touch with the products that she's trying to regulate? She said that they included medical particles. Medical particles. Let's hear it again.
And they found medical particles in them. This is a health crisis that we're confronting.
Medical particles. They found medical particles. That's just nothing. That's just nonsense words. Like, what's a Governor Whitmer? What's a medical particle? What's a medical particle? I mean, I have so many questions. What's a medical particle? What does it do? How does it affect me as a consumer? It's just nonsense made up things. The imaginary they, Jim Bubba, they found medical particles. And I just want to play this again because I don't want Governor Gretchen Whitmer to forget that she said this.
And they found medical particles in them. This is a health crisis that we're confronting.
Medical particles. Medical particles. Sure, medical particles. Are you a bot? Onik Renob. No, definitely not a bot. In fact, that's another thing that's going on right now. I just posted this on Twitter. Congress is apparently investigating all of these Twitter accounts. They said that 45 to 50% of them could be real. Then there's like a 20% chance that some of these are bots, and they're really trying to marginalize and discredit this entire tobacco harm reduction movement, and they're gonna keep trying. I've said this before. I've said this again. Hang on, I'm gonna hang on there, Isaac. I've said this before. I'll say this again. They make it confusing on purpose. They're going to try to marginalize us. They're going to try to downplay our numbers. We're having a huge impact, and that's why they're trying to do this. This is it. That's the last leg they have to stand on. They're fake. All these advocates are fake. All of them. Every one of them's a bot. Here's how we combat that. Here's how we combat that on the internet. First of all, we use the hashtag not a bot. Not a bot. You can use it. We vape, we vote. Not a bot. Additionally, just a little bit of advice for anybody that's on Twitter that's, being an advocate and getting out there and making your voice heard. It just makes me so overwhelmingly happy. If you started a Twitter account, put a picture of your face as the Twitter account. The Twitter accounts that are just someone's name and then 1,000 numbers and then just that blank, like, was not here for the school photo graphic. It makes you look like a bot. And I'm not saying that you're a bot, but just upload a picture of your face, of your person as your Twitter picture. And that's how we combat it. Let them know that we're actually real people. Actually real people. GrimmGreen just got here. Oh, man. Of course. You hear unincorporated San Diego County just voted 2-3 to ban flavors. We lost, but only by 1 vote. Jim Desmond and Kristen Gaspar, Board of Supervisors, had our backs. Yeah, I watched it was streaming on Facebook, I believe, and I was just watching all the testimony while I was setting up for the Tuesday Bro Tuesday, and I didn't get a chance to see the final vote, but apparently it did go through, voted 2-3, and there were 2 on the council, Jim Desmond and Kristen Gaspar, that voted against it. And that's a thing that happened. Matt, very gracious of you. Good news from Michigan, Nick. Thanks for all you do. It is good news. It's good temporary news. This is a temporary injunction, preliminary injunction before the lawsuit can be heard. And that's a good step. That's literally the very first step towards getting this lawsuit to go through and be heard. Like, the injunction is where it begins. So now we're on this grand journey in Michigan to see where this lawsuit goes and where this judge, Cynthia Stevens, where she decides to land on this. It's very reassuring to me that she kind of looked at Governor Gretchen Whitmer's actions and went, what? Stop it. And it also makes me a little bit excited that she says that there is evidence that if flavored vaping products are prohibited, adults will return to using more harmful combustible tobacco products. That's huge. That's huge IMO for a judge to say that. Huge IMO for a judge to say that. So yeah, absolutely, Matt. Matching carpet. Yo, when am I going to get accepted to the Cool Kids Instagram account? How come no one asks you, how is Nick doing today? I'm doing pretty well today, Matching Carpet, and I apologize. I haven't got you added to that Instagram account. I will take care of that 800% right after the stream. Vapor Cloud, very gracious of you. Sean, very gracious of you. DXLR Cloud, after smoking for 35 years, I now vape for medical reasons to improve my health. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And you know what? It's your decision to do that. It's your choice. It's your adult choice to be able to do that. It's your adult choice to be able to do that. So I have yet to have the displeasure of going to one of these meetings. It doesn't seem like there is any real discourse between people on the panel as speakers. Is that not a thing? No. Maggie, the way that these health committee meetings work, the way that these Senate committee meetings work, the way that the LA County or San Diego County Board of Supervisors works is the supervisors, or the group of people sitting behind the desks, are just there to listen, gain information, and then make a decision based on the testimony that they've heard. That's how this is supposed to go. What happened in Los Angeles is they bring out a few doctors first. They brought out someone from the American Lung Association, and each of them got time to just shit on vaping, basically saying, oh, there's so many unknowns. It's causing people to get sick. It's causing these lung injuries. The kids are addicted to the flavors, just the general rhetoric and narrative that we hear. And then they go, oh, okay, thank you very much. And now we're going to hear testimony from the public, and everybody from the public gets to stand up and talk and give their testimony, their whatever minute and 30 seconds or 2 minutes, I think, that they get to sit up there. And then based on all of that information, they hold a vote. There's no discourse between them. There's no asking the LA County Board of Supervisors, like, what do you know about vaping? Do you know the difference between salt nicotine and freebase nicotine? You do not. Okay, that's part of the problem. Like, there's no kind of back and forth like that, at least at a state level that I've experienced, out of all of them that I've been to, I've never seen that sort of like discourse back and forth like that. Sebastian in the chat, it might be an unpopular comment, but the good news worries me that people might become less ready to keep fighting. Yeah, that is a thing. I'm hoping that nobody will lose their fire to keep fighting. I mean, even when there's good news, that is motivation for me to see, look, we're making a difference. Things are changing. Now is the time when we put the pedal to the metal. Now is the time when we hit the gas and really get going on this. So no, I don't think it's going to keep people from being active. I think it might keep the fire actually going a little bit more, because you can only get so angry. You can only get so furious. You can only get, to quote Beecher Howard, you can only get so enraged. You can only get so mad. And then you get to a point where you're like, I just can't muster any more anger out of myself. You know what I mean? And so when you have a little bit of a win, like this little bit of an injunction, right? And even just generally, I feel like the narrative is shifting a little bit. The narrative's shifting a little bit, and people are realizing what is being vaped. That was the worst timed burp of all time. What's being vaped is what actually matters. Vaping, again, is just the verb. It's just the technology. What you're vaporizing is a critical component to this. Are you vaping vitamin E acetate? Then you're probably going to go to the hospital with lung injuries. Are you vaping completely water-soluble flavored nicotine products? Then chances are you're not going to go to the hospital. And I think it's honestly really motivating. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I honestly think it's really motivating when we see wins like this, and you can have a little bit of like, all right, here we go. It's like, here's how I would compare it. Street Fighter, right? Who plays Street Fighter? You ever played Street Fighter? I played Street Fighter all the time in the arcades where it mattered, not at home. I played Street Fighter in the arcades. I played Mortal Kombat in the arcades where it mattered. And it's the same thing. If I'm Nightwolf and my opponent is Sub-Zero and he's blasted me down to within an inch of my life and he's still got a full healthy bar, and you unleash some sort of like wicked combo and get his health bar down, that kind of gives you like, I could win this. You kind of jump in with both feet and you're like, okay, here we go. Something's happening. Things are changing. The narrative is moving. Like, we can win this. I find that incredibly motivating. We need wins. We need wins, and we need anger, and we need to see the fruits of our labor, which is happening. They think we're bots, you guys. I see that as an absolute win. We're being so effective that the powers that be are going, this can't be real. Oh, it's real, baby. It's real. It's very real. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let me have some water. Let me have some Vap. Yeah, stay hydrated out there, fam. Hydro homies. All I have to vape today is my white Grimm kit. I put a Twisted Messes sticker on one side of it just because, it's Kent and I like Kent, but I went for the white and black Stormtrooper look. I'm going to be doing a video for this hopefully this week. I know a lot of reviewers are getting them. I know Bogan has one. A few other people have them already, and they need some guidance. They need some direction on how we use the Grimm kit and what it's for. So I'm going to be doing a video for the Grimm kit hopefully this week. I guess I can also take this time right now to make the announcement that I'm not going to have a vlog this week. The vlog is going dark this week, just for 1 week. I have some other business to attend to, I suppose. So there's not going to be a vlog this week, but we're going to get back. It'll be back. We'll get back on track the very, very next week. It's just this week, the 17th, there will not be a vlog. I apologize. There's tons of other stuff to watch out there. So here we go. Let's read some news. So we're talking about nicotine today. We're talking about nicotine today, and how so many people are scared of nicotine. People are really, really terrified of nicotine, and I think that's because We've just been lied to for so long about it. We've just been lied to for so long about nicotine and these politicians that get up there and talk about, oh, nicotine, it's more addictive than heroin. More addictive than heroin? What the hell? Are you kidding me right now? We've been terrified. We've been scared. We've been fear-mongered into believing that nicotine is this horrible, horrible, awful, awful thing. In reality, it is bad because in the past, it addicted you to combustible tobacco cigarettes. We don't understand nicotine. Health committee members, they don't understand nicotine. And if they do understand nicotine, they're not giving out the correct information about nicotine at all in any capacity. Scrapwood Original. You can only get through the gate and you floor it. Yep, you can only get through the gate if you floor it. You can only get through the gate if you floor it. Exactly, Scrapwood Original. Who's ready to floor it? I'm ready to floor it. Polay 6870, very gracious of you. Hi from Denmark. Thank you for your commitment. It's what I do right now. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What's up to Denmark from the United States where everything's crazy, science doesn't matter. It's bananas here. It's bananas. But we're going to be talking about nicotine. And I'm just going to basically kind of give you my commentary, and we're going to read through this entire article because I feel like a lot of people don't read entire articles, and I'm going to make it a little bit easier for you. This is essentially the audiobook version of important articles out there. This information is just for you to just listen to, just absorb this information and use it. Use it in the future. Use it on Twitter. Use it on Facebook. Use it when you're debating people on Facebook. I know that's a thing that happens. Everybody gets into debates on Facebook and Twitter about nicotine and vaping and things like this. But this article today comes to us from Forbes, and it's 2 years old. This article is 2 years old. Means FDA has known about at least 2 years. That's what this article tells. At least 2 years. Nicotine. People have been studying nicotine for decades. Decades. Yes, exactly, John Haymaker. People don't like science. That's why we have anti-vaxxers and flat earthers. Yeah, 100%. People don't like science, but people love misinformation. They just eat it up with a big old spoon. All that misinformation. The power of misinformation can be seen today in the United States with anti-vaxxers. It's crazy. But we're going to get to this article here from Forbes. Let me scroll up to get rid of that weed ad. Yeah, look at that. Right there. I'm in California, so it serves me ads. Hey, get your old pal, classic sativas, hybrids, and indicas delivered to your door via ease. $15 for an eighth. $15 for an eighth. I'm getting served ads on my browser where I can get $15 eighths delivered to my door. Meanwhile, there are still people in prison serving sentences for having probably less weed than I could get delivered to my house. Welcome to America. That's bananas. Okay, sorry, different tangent. So this article was written by someone named Sally Sadel. I follow her on Twitter. She's just really smart, really educated. She says she's a journalist. She writes about issues at the intersection of medicine and culture. And I can't think of a more fitting little catchphrase for the whole vaping drama going on right now than being at the actual intersection of medicine and culture. We are at that intersection, Sally. We are there. A long time ago, I was preparing a 510 report based, on nicotine, around nicotine and things like that. And I had saved this article because I was quoting it very frequently in this 510 report. And the other day, I revisited this idea of doing a nicotine-based 510 report again. And then I started reading this article and I thought, damn it, this whole entire article is just pure gold. Just pure gold. Yes, we must end prohibition in all forms. I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you, Kelly Bell. Completely agree with you. Yeah. Brain poison. You know what word doesn't get mentioned at all in this article? The word brain poison. The word poison never even appears in this article. The word poison doesn't even appear in this article. So sit back, relax a little bit, chat if you want to. This is basically just the audiobook version of this, and I've got lots to chime in about. So again, Sally Sadel, Forbes magazine, she writes about issues at the intersection of medicine and culture. The man in charge of tobacco regulation at the Food and Drug Administration says we need a national debate on nicotine. Good idea. But first, we need to understand what nicotine is and what it isn't. It isn't the stuff that can cause serious illness and death from cancer, lung, and heart disease. Those culprits are the tar and toxic gases that are released from burning tobacco when you smoke. Nicotine is a chemical that is dangerous not because it causes cancer, but because it can addict you to cigarettes. As Michael Russell, the father of tobacco harm reduction theory and the developer of the nicotine gum, put in 1976, people smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the tar. I just love that part so much. Michael Russell, the father of tobacco harm reduction theory, said this in 1976. People smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the tar. And that's still true. Regardless of if Forbes is warning me that this article is 2 years old, that is still as true today as it was in 1976. Mitch Zeller, director of the Center of Tobacco Products, a division of the FDA, made his comments about nicotine in an interview with New York Times columnist Joe Nocera on the eve of his agency's recommendations for regulating electronic cigarettes. The nature of e-cigarettes is that, like Russell's gum, they contain nicotine and thus satisfy the cravings of smokers. But vaping, as puffing on an e-cigarette is called, doesn't burn tobacco and release those carcinogens. Unfortunately, many Americans don't understand that nicotine itself isn't the villain. It's not the villain until they made it a villain in DC Comics, and we get to talk all about that as well, stemming from this article. Exactly, good point. Let me drop this in the chat. It's going to be in the description of this video as well, but that's the chat. That's the link to what we're reading right now. We can all read it together. Adolescents in the early 1980s encountered an evil character called Nicotine, created by DC Comics in collaboration with the Sacramento-based Health Education Council. Nicotine sparred with Superman who tried to guard Gotham's children against cigarettes. So the character of Nicotine is... Wait, how do you know what show this is? There it is. I know you know it's Tuesday, bro, Tuesday. The character of Nicotine. It's a very, very real thing. And I'm going to forgive Sally completely for saying that Superman is trying to guard Gotham's children against cigarettes. That's not actually accurate. Batman is in Gotham. Superman would be protecting the children of Metropolis. It's a small mistake, small little mistake in this article, but Gotham is Batman, Superman is Metropolis. But I don't care. I'm going to forgive you completely, Sally. I'm going to forgive you completely, Sally. But nicotine is only a menace when it can addict people to conventional cigarettes. That is, tobacco wrapped in paper. By contrast, the process of vaping, nicotine carries little risk by itself. Negative health consequences have not materialized within the 7 years e-cigarettes have been used in the U.S., although it's essential to keep monitoring. And this could even be updated. Negative health consequences haven't materialized in 10 years, 11 years, since it's been getting used in the United States by millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of adult U.S. Why did I throw U.S. in there? Of adult smokers in the United States. In the 1960s, most psychologists, psychiatrists, and pharmacologists viewed smoking as a psychological and social habit. Habit was also the language used in the landmark 1964 Surgeon General's report on smoking. At the time, some researchers suspected that nicotine played a role in cigarettes' appeal. This is what they're discovering about cigarettes. In 1964, they're kind of going, whoa, wait a minute. Nicotine might play a role in this appeal of cigarettes. Drugs such as alcohol, barbiturates, and heroin are considered addictive as opposed to habitual, based on their ability to intoxicate, cause social damage, and produce dramatic physical withdrawal syndromes. But smoking was considered neither a pharmacological nor biological phenomenon. Not until 1988 did the U.S. Surgeon General designate smoking as an addiction, driven primarily by nicotine, which is a nitrogen-containing chemical, or alkaloid. Nicotine was deemed to have addictive properties based on three fundamental features. One, in the initial stages of use, more of it is required to produce the same effect in a smoker. Two, a phenomenon called tolerance. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. A phenomenon called tolerance. Tolerance is the same thing that happens when you're partaking in the cannabis flower. More layman's terms would be smoking weed. When you start doing it, it takes a very bit of just a little, boom, you are high, stoned. The next time you do it, it's going to take a little bit more to get you to that same place. The next time you do it, it's going to take you more to get to that same place. The next time you do it, I think that we know the road we're going down. It's going to take you more to get to that same place. The more you do it, the more it's going to take to get you to that same place until you become the person that just smokes weed 24/7. And there's people that do that. And you know what? That's cool. Totally cool with that. But it takes more. That's why with marijuana, you can take a tolerance break. You can actually abstain from it very easily. It's not physically addictive. You can abstain from it for a week, 2 weeks, and it will completely reset your tolerances. And then now you're back to being brand new again. Little tiny bit of weed will get you real stoned. But the next time you do it, it's going to take a little bit more to get you a stone. The next time you do it, it's going to take you a little bit more until we go in this circle where you can easily take a tolerance break, lower your tolerance again, and continue and move forward. That's called tolerance. 2, it is reinforcing, meaning that it is sufficiently rewarding to spur self-administration. And I think that is one of the most critical components to this is self-administering. When you feel like you need nicotine, you get to decide when and how much nicotine you're going to take in. That there's a lot of satisfaction around that. It's very rewarding for me to go, I'm going to vape nicotine right now. Right now. By the way, this is filled up with 12 milligram non-salt Nic Dragon Shake from Mr. Eric Vinilin Vapor. Deep cuts. Very satisfying. Very satisfying. Very reinforcing. Very rewarding, that self-administration. And 3, abrupt cessation can lead to a powerful craving and a recognizable withdrawal syndrome. Yeah, absolutely it can. Absolutely it can. And it doesn't happen as much now that I'm a vapor. I've been a vapor for the past 10 years, going over 10 years now, which is crazy. But I remember back in the day when I was a heavy smoker, if I went an hour, 2 hours without a cigarette, I would want to chop somebody in the throat. I wanted to peel my own skin off. I would have done anything for a cigarette at that point. But ever since I switched to vaping, and I noticed this even really early on, when I switched to vaping, I had been vaping for 1 year, and I went on my first cross-country flight. I flew cross-country, and I'm like, whoa, I've never done this as a vapor before. I had my vape stuff, and I put it in my carry-on, and I flew the whole flight, and I wasn't crazy antsy or really crawling out of my skin for some nicotine or a cigarette or anything. And I looked and I'm like, oh, we're an hour away. That's cool. I'll get to vape when we land, and that's fine. And I was just much more chill about it, much more calm about it. But if you had those withdrawal syndromes from cigarettes, you know that it's a very real thing. And look, I'm not saying that goes completely away when you become a vapor, but I can categorically say that switching down to 3 and 12 milligram, you can go much longer without vaping, without having that pull your skin off nicotine craving. It's a very, very real thing. Nicotine is a mild stimulant and poses negligible risks in healthy people. It enhances the performance of some tasks, especially those involving vigilance and rapid visual cue processing. It can also sharpen memory, concentration, and attention in the short term. Also, because nicotine receptors appear to regulate the other receptor systems, its effects can vary according to one's mood level of arousal. A smoker who feels anxious or stressed can be calmed with nicotine, and a smoker who is tired will perk up with nicotine. When nicotine binds to receptors in the brain, it releases dopamine, a primary neurotransmitter. Dopamine plays an important role in modulating attention, concentration, appetite suppression, and movement. Dopamine's effects on movement could explain why nicotine has shown some promise in ameliorating a disorder like Parkinson's disease in primates. So here's the thing, I talked to my dad about nicotine with his Parkinson's, and apparently that wasn't a reality for him. Some Parkinson's patients are unique and different from other Parkinson's patients and exhibit different symptoms than other Parkinson's patients. And for a lot of Parkinson's patients, nicotine is actually a really, really helpful thing. For a long stretch of his life, Michael J. Fox, who is like the poster boy for Parkinson's, Michael J. Fox took up smoking to calm his tremors that he would have from Parkinson's. I was reading a story about there was an awards show that he was supposed to attend and be there and be part of like the presenting thing, and his limo pulled up and the red carpet was there and waiting for him to get out of the limo, and apparently his limousine circled the block like 4 or 5 times so that he could chain smoke some cigarettes so that the nicotine would cause his tremors to go down so that he could get out of the car and be a functioning Michael J. Fox at this awards show, because this is before he told anybody that he had Parkinson's. He was hiding it from everybody, and he would just chain smoke cigarettes in his limousine so he could get out and feel and look and feel like a normal person and not tremors. Nicotine. If Michael J. Fox had had vaping back then, he might have not have done so much damage to his lungs. But he turned directly to cigarettes, directly to nicotine to keep his tremors down. In fact, large epidemiological series have found lower levels of Parkinson's in older smokers. Also, patients with early stages of Alzheimer's disease show some improvement when nicotine is delivered via patch. By contrast, there is no debate about the dangers of smoking. As the biggest preventable cause of mortality in the developed world, smoking can affect fetal development and significantly increase the chances of certain cancers, heart attack, and stroke. Smoking also worsens pre-existing diabetes, but it is essential to note, in addition to nicotine, there are roughly 6,000 chemicals in cigarette smoke. So it's hard to know which compound poses the greatest damage for health. For example, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and other gaseous constituents of e-cigarette smoke have been shown to reduce oxygen transport to cells, promote growth of arthroscopic plaques in blood vessels, and make blood platelets sticky so they clump together and form clots. That's in... So basically what she's saying here is that these other 6,000 chemicals, for example, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and other gaseous constituents of cigarette smoke do all of this other like really horrible stuff to you, really horrible stuff. And none of that, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, none of that is in e-liquid. It just simply doesn't exist. So you're getting less harm. That is black and white, less harm right there. I don't know what scale of less harm, but that's less harm right there. The relative safety of nicotine alone is clear from animal studies and long-term observations of people who have used medicinal nicotine for years. As a result, research can be far more definitive when they conclude that gum, patches, lozenges, inhalers, and sprays all of which contain medicinal nicotine, are not carcinogenic and do not increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, even in people with pre-existing cardiac conditions. Although nicotine is an addictive substance, e-cigarette vapor appears to be less addictive than cigarette smoke, according to works by Jonathan Foulds of Penn State University College of Medicine published recently in Nicotine and Tobacco Research. Vapors reported being less irritable when they did not have access to an e-cigarette compared to their feelings of frustration when they could not smoke. So, maybe I got a little bit ahead of myself making that rant earlier, but it's very, very true. I've experienced it firsthand. Hang on. Chris, very gracious of you. Hope your dad is doing well. Thank you for what you do. He is doing very well, and thank you for what you do, Chris. That is super chats. Thank you. Sifu, very gracious of you. Here's a 5 spot because you're awesome. Yo, good sir. Sifu, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Sifu. You're awesome. You're awesome. Spencer, very gracious of you. Rest in peace, Oregon. It was really sad visiting shops this last weekend. Hopefully got enough for 6 months. Yeah. Oregon did the same thing that Michigan did. The governor of Oregon got up there and said, wow, people are getting sick. Ban flavors. I mean, we can't dwell. I mean, I can't, you just sound like a broken record sometimes. And I'm not saying you, Spencer, you sound like a broken record. I'm saying me. I sound like a broken record sometimes because there's only so many times you can go, the lung injuries are being caused by black market cannabis dab carts with vitamin E acetate in them, and you're going to ban water-soluble, nicotine-flavored vapor products that are sold in adult-only vape shops. They're conflating two issues together. They're making it murky and confusing on purpose so that people are confused, and then the end result is vape shops closing. And that breaks my heart. And I posted this on Facebook not too long ago, but I got served a memory about the vape tour. And the vape tour happened 2 years ago, which seems crazy to me. But the whole point of the vape tour was to get out there and show some of these vape shops love. Like, I just wanted to get out there and meet shop owners and have a party at vape shops and, sort of enrich the community and get people to these vape shops and just show the vape shops some love. We stopped at 2 shops in Oregon. We stopped at shops in Denver, in Utah, California, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, the whole West Coast. It's crazy to me. I hate the idea that the vape shops that we visited in Oregon are being forced to close now because the governor doesn't understand or just refuses to learn about what they're actually regulating. They just refuse to learn. You can't get any information to them. They refuse to learn, and it just shows that they're just unwilling. They're just unwilling to learn about what they're regulating. They're just unwilling to learn the side effects, the unintended consequences of all of these flavor bans happening. They're just careless politicians. That's it. That's the only conclusion I can come to is I don't care. We don't care to learn. We're unwilling to learn about what we're going to regulate. Unbelievable. Patches O'Hooligan. Shout out to you. Shout out to my, why is this so hard for me to read? Shout out to my You Suck Vapes fam. We're watching right now, Boosh. All right. Shout out to You Suck Vapes fam. Melissa, very gracious of you. For anyone looking for a Recoil Rebel, Local Vape has them. Gold, purple, red stainless, $50 and Squonk Pins for 10. Ruby's 20% code off works. There you go. Who's looking for a Recoil Rebel? I got a Recoil Rebel. There you go. Apparently they're on Local Vape. And you can get $20 off. 20% off. Matt, very gracious of you. Hey, Nick, can you give a shout out to my Facebook group called Vapers United, 21 and order and over? I keep updated going on in the vape world. Absolutely, Matt. Absolutely. Vapers United over there on Facebook. Real Jim Shady, will Namber Juice make a comeback? look, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's changed in Michigan. I know there is the temporary injunction in place right now, but that is the focus is really on retail. Retail vape shops. I don't know how it's going to affect manufacturers in the state. I just don't know. I have no idea. Honestly, the damage might have been done with Namber juice. I don't know if we can make a comeback. I'd like to think we could, but I genuinely don't know if we can. Okay, I'm gonna get back to this. Article here. Vapers also, remember we're talking about nicotine today, you guys. Vapers also claimed they were less eager to get the first puff of the day than they did when they were smokers. They were also less likely to wake up in the middle of the night to vape than they were in the past to smoke. Did anybody do that? I would think about cigarettes the first thing when I woke up in the morning. It was my first thing I wanted to do. I would get up and put a hoodie on and go outside and just smoke a cigarette in the freezing cold, like before anything. Before I'm even awake, before I've started the shower, before I've started coffee, I would get up at 5:30 in the morning, put on a hoodie, and go outside and smoke cigarettes. That's all I would do. That's all I wanted to do. It's all I thought about, was smoking cigarettes. There were times where I had woken up in the middle of the night and went outside and smoked cigarettes. That's happened a lot in the past. I remember getting back in bed and just stinking like cigarettes, and the girl I was dating at the time is just repulsed beyond imagination. Like, could you imagine your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, getting out of bed in the middle of the night? You hear the front door open and close. 15 minutes later, you hear the front door open and close, and then they just get back into bed smelling like an ashtray that was sitting at a campfire. Like, just awful. Yeah, addiction is a hell of a thing. Many e-cigarettes deliver less nicotine per puff and generally produce lower blood nicotine levels and thus brain levels than cigarettes do. However, with access to increasingly sophisticated devices and more experience as a vapor, the user can attain a blood level of nicotine that is comparable to that produced by smoking. Still, it takes longer for vaped nicotine to reach its peak level than for tobacco-burned nicotine. These two variables, how high the level of nicotine is in the bloodstream and how fast that level is achieved, are important in determining the effectiveness of any abused drug. As expected, Fould's team found that subjects who use weak cigalikes, first-generation e-cigarettes that physically resembled actual cigarettes, and I'm sure there's got to be people in here that remember those, the little Janty Duras and the little RN 4081s, or the Enjoy King. Does anybody remember the Enjoy King? Yeah, pretty crappy. They had among the lowest scores on a test of dependency or addiction. Also, the length of time as a vapor was positively correlated with the strength of dependence. As Fould suggests, we might actually need e-cigarettes that are better at delivering nicotine because that's what's more likely to help people quit. Independent researcher came to the conclusion while studying e-cigarettes that we might actually need e-cigarettes that are better at delivering nicotine because that's what's more likely to help people quit. There is no doubt vapor technology will improve the nicotine delivery of e-cigarettes. Indeed, a brand new type of e-cigarette uses nicotine extracted that includes natural nicotine salts that are part of the tobacco leaf. So keep in mind, this came out in 2015. This is 2017. This is Juul time. This is they're just getting into Juul, and they're just understanding the difference between SaltNic and Freebase, which if we have time, which we're not going to have time, but if we have time to really crank through this other article, I didn't know there were so many differences between SaltNic and Freebase Nic. I had no idea. I've just been digging into this like this last week and this weekend and today. There's a lot of differences. Blue got you started? Started with the views? Yeah. Started with the views. Nathan in the chat says, that's why I'm against a high nicotine ban. SaltNic is no more effect in helping smokers quit. I don't understand your sentence. That's why you're against a high nicotine ban? Salt nic is more effective in helping smokers quit? Okay, that's what you're trying to go for it. Yes, I agree with you. I do agree with you. We do need a nicotine cap, though. That's going to be 100% thing. There has to be a nicotine cap. 50 milligram salt nic will help smokers quit. Yes. 18 milligram Freebase will also have a very, very similar effect. It might be a hair less successful than a salt nicotine device would be. But for, let's see, 5 years, the vape industry was comprised of people that 100%ly only vaped Freebase nicotine. We converted millions of smokers, millions and millions of smokers without the aid of salt nicotine. So, I mean, obviously it's a more complicated answer it's a complicated question that needs a little bit more complicated of an answer. If we're going to cap nicotine, do we make stronger nicotines available via a prescription? Do we make stronger nicotines available in adult-only vape shops or something like that? Are they going to get prescribed? Like I said, to smokers currently, you have to meet some certain criteria in order to get the 50 milligram nicotine. I personally think a 20 milligram cap, fine. It does. Utah has a 24 milligram cap, which makes absolute sense. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, you guys. We're going to get to that. There is no doubt vapor technology will improve the nicotine delivery of e-cigarettes. Indeed, a brand new type of e-cigarette uses nicotine extracted that includes natural nicotine salts that are part of the tobacco leaf. That's actually not 100% correct, approximating the nicotine delivery of a conventional cigarette. As this and other technologies develop and spread, nicotine delivery will become better and vaping will become more attractive to more smokers. Believers in harm reduction theory see that as a good thing. If current tobacco smokers and likely new tobacco smokers choose vaping, they'll cut their health risks despite or actually because of nicotine. In his interview with Nocera, Zeller, remember this is Mitch Zeller, Zeller said that when nicotine is attached to smoke particles, it will kill. Conversely, when there is no smoke, nicotine alone will be far safer, even a net benefit. Whoa! The question now is whether this reality can be translated into government rules that enable existing e-cigarette manufacturers to continue to innovate, to advertise to adult smokers, and to reassure the public that their products have been subject to high levels of quality control. After all, governments should regulate products according to the harm they pose. So the distinction between smoked and vaped nicotine really matters. Thank you, Sally. That's so important. I'd like to read it again. After all, governments should regulate products according to the harm they pose, so the distinction between smoked and vaped nicotine really matters. Really matters. Infamous Brad, I use 50 milligram for cutting cost. I go through a 30 mil a month and a half and I use 50 milligram for cutting cost. I go through a 30 mil in a month and a half and vape less than I ever have. It's about self-control and not chain vaping. I also used to smoke 3 packs a day. Yeah, that's a big part of vaping. It is up to you. You have the responsibility now. When you become a vapor, you have the responsibility to decide how much nicotine am I really going to consume. I need to find like a baseline that satisfies me. That's always the beginning trial and error. At least it was for me. I started off with 36 milligram, quickly went down to 24, quickly went down to 18, probably spent a few years at 18, quickly went down to 12, skipped 6 milligram completely and went straight to 3 when sub-ohming was kind of a thing. But that's up to you. You have to decide, and not every vapor is going to be the same. Not every vapor is going to be the same. If I grab this Ice Bar 50 milligram salt nic, I can just habitually just vape this and vape it and vape it and vape it and just never stop and just habitually hit this and hit this and hit this. And no matter how satisfied I might feel from nicotine, or even if I'm having far too much nicotine and it's giving me a headache or making me nauseous, it's something that is habitual that you yourself have to go, okay, hang on. Let's just pump the brakes here. Let me put this down just for a while. It's up to you to control it, and you can become a vapor, and you can just continuously just habitually vape and vape and vape and vape and vape and vape and vape. And look, we all do it. I do it constantly. I've sat on the couch, not with Salt Nick, but I've sat on the couch with an RDA or a sub-ohm tank and just habitually vaped it, or a little mouth to lung guy and just habitually vaped it. It's not that I felt like I needed nicotine or that I was having some sort of nicotine craving or anything like that, but it's a habitual thing. You have to have some semblance of self-control. This is something I've said my whole life, but everything in moderation, man. Everything in moderation. But this prohibitionist attitude is not successful, and it's not successful for me. And these are things I've noticed in my own life. It's like, okay, I'm ready to admit this. I definitely have a sugar addiction. I love it. I eat too much sugar, and I definitely have a sugar addiction. And it's come to the point in my life where I've tried just banning it from my life, like straight up prohibition, like can't even have it in the house. Can't even have it in the house. And that was never successful because depriving myself of it just made me want it so much fucking more. And then I would go to 7-Eleven and I would eat fistfuls of Snickers bars and I would cave. But if you have it in moderation, everything in moderation, if I have some candy in the house, gummies, I have some gummies. That's fine. Just a few. Moderate. Not 20 handfuls of gummies all day long. Moderation. So that's true in smoking. That's true in sugar. That's true with liquor. That's true with alcohol. It's true with vaping. It's true with nicotine. You have to self-moderate yourself. So where were we? That's right. We were at the end. If policymakers reject the scientific truth about nicotine and make e-cigarettes more scarce, then the likely result is that more Americans will die from smoking. Damn it, Sally. Now a little bit of info on Sally. I am a psychiatrist specializing in addiction medicine, a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, and a lecturer at the Yale University School of Medicine. And she says, if policymakers reject the scientific truth about nicotine and make e-cigarettes more scarce, then the likely result is that more Americans will die from smoking. Yes. No, John, I do not eat. Why is everybody? I don't do a lot of things naked. I don't poop naked. I don't eat sugar naked. I don't do a lot of things naked. I shower naked. That's it. That's the one thing I do in the nude is shower because you have to be. I like clothes. Like I'll even sometimes put on a hat, just to throw on my glasses just because, you kind of want to feel put together. It's like that Jerry Seinfeld bit. You're making these little adjustments. You're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm put together. I got my shirt, glasses on, hats on. When you're naked, that's just it. You're like, well, not put together. You just feel like a slob. You just feel like a lump. Okay, swim. Okay, I swim naked too, but we're not going to talk about that. So yeah, Sally Sadel, I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. This is a brilliant article. I'm going to put it one more time in the chat. It's definitely going to be in the description to this video as well. And I would suggest following her on Twitter. She posts a lot of really great stuff on Twitter. She's incredibly smart, incredibly well-spoken. She is a psychiatrist specializing in addiction medicine. She's a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute and a lecturer at the Yale University School of Medicine. She's a journalist that writes about the issues at the intersection of medicine and culture, and that's 100% where we are right now. I feel like reading this article was just a cosmic thing. 3 o'clock. We got about a half hour, and I've got way too much stuff to do. But let's look at nicotine. You guys remember nicotine? Let's read about nicotine. Nicotine was a supervillain and the enemy of Superman in Gotham City, right, Sally? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. Somewhere around 1980, Nicotine approached some children on roller skates. Supervillain on roller skates. That's new. Tried to give them some 20 brand cigarettes. Superman quickly shows up on the scene, tosses him into the air, stomps him on the ground. That's right. Solve things with violence. I'm just kidding. Sometime later that year, Nicotine again tried to give cigarettes to some kids on the street. Thankfully, Clark Kent heard it, spotted him with his microscopic vision from a window of the Daily Planet, and he makes the change into Superman. He flies down there. This upsets Nick, obviously, and he begs Superman, like, oh, just leave me one cigarette. I just need one cigarette. And the great thing about the Nicotine character... Can I zoom in on this? Yeah. The great thing about the Nicotine character is he was like this pale. He was all pale and like, ooh, ugly and pale and yellow teeth. And like the top of his hat was like a burning cigarette butt. Just this burning cigarette butt. And look, I don't remember Nicotine. This is before my time of reading comic books, but I wish I could know who took this character seriously. What were there kids? They were like, I am such a huge Superman fan and I hate Nicotine. And Nicotine is the villainized human form of nicotine, the addictive component in tobacco cigarettes. Are kids making these connections? Couldn't they call them Cigarette Man or Smokey or the Smoker or something like that instead of nicotine, like the component inside of a cigarette? It just real bizarre. Just real bizarre. And so there are commercials for this. There's commercials and cartoons you can go watch. They're on YouTube, the Nicotine commercials and cartoons, and they're real weird, like low quality animation. And in one of them, Superman has like this British type of accent. Does he look like Cuomo? I don't know. What is that, Governor Cuomo? He does kind of look like Governor Cuomo. He's got that like that snarky smile. Just that. Although that sounds too much like Skeletor. He-Man. Does look like Governor Cuomo. Does look like Governor Cuomo. But you can go watch them, and they're weird. And like I said, one of them's like Superman has like this British accent. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to put the Nicotine there. Ralph from the chat. I smoked Cools and Newports for 45 years. Started vaping flavored e-liquid, 24 milligram Nic, and am 6 milligram Nic for 3 years, but the variety of flavors was helped immensely. Yes, I'm content to stay right here. Yes, the variety of flavors is too hard. Here's the thing. Here's how I think that we need to approach the flavor debate. While I enjoy some grape nicotine. Here's how I think we need to address flavors. It's too hard of a sell, in my opinion. It's too hard of a sell, in my opinion, to just say that they're important for quitting. Like, yes, they are important for quitting. The FDA has done studies on this. Let me try to find the link. The FDA's done studies on this showing that flavors make switching much, much more successful. They did a study of their own products. I'm not going to be able to find it. Expert reactions, the real reason, the effects of cigarette aerosol emissions. Damn it. They've done their own studies. The FDA has, and it shows effects of cigarette smoking. I have so many tabs open right now and so many bookmarks. I must not have saved that. I'll have to find it again. The FDA's done their own studies that show that exact thing, that flavors help the smoker disassociate. Flavors help the success of things like gums and sprays and things like this. Flavors actually do facilitate this sort of quitting success that happens. And they concluded in these studies that the flavors themselves don't raise the possibility of abuse by non-smokers or anything like that. They have all this data. They have all these studies. And that's a really hard sell, especially to someone who's not a vapor and not a smoker and someone who doesn't understand things like addiction or nicotine. It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell saying, no, it's the prickly smooth. It's the grapefruit flavor that helps me stay away from tobacco cigarettes. People just don't understand that. And it's true for us. The flavors actually absolutely do help, but it's too hard of a sell. What we need to do, adult choice. This is an adult choice issue. And I've said this 1,500 times in the past. I think the only way that we're going to defend flavors is it's an adult choice. And I've been trying to put this out there all over Twitter, all over the internet. I said this on the FDA. I said this on the Parents Against Vaping. I'm a 42-year-old grown-ass adult man. I get to decide what I vape. I get to decide what I consume. If I want strawberry nicotine, I should be allowed, as a free adult of age American, I should be able to decide that for myself. Why do you get to decide if I should be allowed strawberry? Oh, thank you, great and powerful government, for allowing me a strawberry flavor. Why are we begging these politicians for flavors? Why? Why do we have to beg politicians for flavors? Tobacco's a flavor. Yeah. I've been tasting tobacco flavors in the vlog. We got another tobacco flavor to taste as well, because tobacco is a flavor. Is a flavor. Why do you prefer cola over water? Why? Because of the flavor. Maybe. Do we have to beg politicians for things like that though? I mean, it's just, imagine if you had to do that for sugar. Imagine if they took this stance on sugar. And when you went to a restaurant, you were not allowed to order dessert. Sorry, flavors have been banned. Sugar, obesity, it's an epidemic. You didn't know? You can't have strawberry cheesecake. You just can't. You'll have to petition your representatives, have a meeting with your senator, and then tweet at the White House in order for them to overturn this ban on flavored sugar so they get to decide what you can eat. I know that sucks. Well, they did it with vaping and nobody seemed to care, so they just went right on to sugar, and now you can't have strawberry cheesecake. Sorry. Can't eat it. It is a hard sell. It is a hard sell, and it makes all of the difference, Ralph. All of the difference. Flavors are critical. Flavors are the critical component, because I started vaping tobacco liquids and they suck. At least in 2009, they all were terrible. They tasted like peanut shavings and weird. Tobacco flavors were terrible. I tried tobacco flavors, fail. Tobacco flavors, failure. Root beer stuck. Root beer worked. Root beer got me off of cigarettes. It was root beer and then green apple a little bit later on. And those are the two flavors. When I was trying tobaccos, I was having very little success. I didn't find it as enjoyable. I thought, this tastes bad. Why don't I just smoke? It wasn't until I had root beer where I went, oh, this isn't like smoking. This doesn't taste like smoking. I could do this. This is something I could do. All right. Well, let's do some of these super chats here. Absolutely. Joshua, very gracious of you. Yo, Nick, can you shout out my shop, The Vapor Stop in Sulphur, Louisiana? Absolutely, 100%. The Vapor Stop, shout it out right there. Scrapwood Original. Hey, don't insult a good campfire smell. Here's the thing. I love a good campfire smell. And this isn't something that I really wanted to bring up, but there was a huge fire in Los Angeles, really close to my house. Really very close to my house. Terrifyingly close to my house. Terrifyingly close. But all the wind was kind of pushing towards the west for a while. When it shifted southwest, we started getting this smoky smell in the air. Just a very light, smoky smell. I actually enjoyed it. I know. That's sick. That's a sickness. But I love a good campfire smell. I love a good campfire smell when it comes from a campfire. I don't love a good campfire smell when it comes from cigarettes or when it comes from like a wildfire. I can't hang with that. And instantly, the smoke got too much. We had to shut all our windows. I left a basket of laundry on my patio for like 15 minutes out in the smoke. I brought it in and all of my clothes just smelled like smoke. I had to rewash them. It was ridiculous. It was awful down here. Hamish, how you doing, bud? Boosh, Radadrox. I'm not 100% sure what that means, brother, but I hope you're doing good. Joseph, very gracious of you. I quit with 6 milligram. I was over a pack a day, 5 years. Yeah, 6 milligram was there. 6 milligram was perfect for a lot of people. I skipped completely over it. I went from 12 to 3. That's fine. Eifer, are we still talking about Nick pooping naked? No. No one's talking about that. You're the only... You're the only one, Eifer. Tim J, very gracious of you. Yeah, Cynthia Stevens for president. Someone with some science and sense. Please open your e-liquid business back up, Nick. You know what? I would love to. I would absolutely love to. We're going to see how this goes. So many things are changing right now. I can't even focus on that right now. Honestly, that was heartbreaking and I don't really like to think about it. And I have so much stuff to focus on right now that the liquid is kind of just sitting in the back of my head, just kind of right there. And I'm trying not to think about it too much, but I'm going to try, Tim. I'm going to try. Eifer, is that a puff bar? Also, have you seen the MVP5? Have not seen the MVP5. And this one, pardon me, I got the hiccups now. This one's called Ice Bar. Is it going to focus? Maybe if I do one of these jobbers. Yeah, there you go. Ice Bar. It's just a disposable pod guy. Tastes like grape. And is pink, which I think that's a good way to go. Like pods, if they become colored, like this pink one, are they going to say, well, that's more appealing to youths? Bright colors, that's more appealing to youths. Or is it because it's a bright pink color, maybe harder to hide in class and in school and locker rooms and things like this? A bright pink stick is a little bit harder to hide than a smaller black little jewel guy. Much easier to hide. I don't know. It's the Ice Bar and it's grape. So we're not going to get to the second article. I'm realizing it hard right now that we're not going to get to the second article, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to post this in the chat right now. I'm going to post it in the description. I'm going to see how long this... Oh, it's too long. It's too long to read. We might be able to power through this. We just might be able to power through this, you guys. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to get through this. Now, is that too much? Shit, it's too much. Well, there's the article that I was going to read, but the big headline on it says there is a simple way to curb youth vaping and it isn't a flavor ban. Isn't a flavor ban. For British Eyes Only, thanks for everything you do. And sorry I missed last week's vlog. I was humbled to be part of Ruby's That's What She Said 12-hour fundraiser stream. Wildcard Wednesday? I don't know. No, I can't do a Wildcard Wednesday tomorrow. I can't. Tomorrow's patron day. I spend Wednesday with the patrons. You know that, British Eyes. You know that. That's fine. You were on the fundraiser. I was on the fundraiser. They killed it. They did awesome. Kirk, very gracious of you. Would you be willing to coordinate all of the YouTubers, Basardo, SMM, etc., to pick a specific day to have all of their subscribers tweet Joe Rogan and try to get Conley on there? The outreach of over 150 million people could be huge. Could be. Look, I'm on board. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult to coordinate all these people together. And I mean, if that's what we want to do, then that's what we want to do. And we can definitely try. Kirk. We can definitely try. For British Eyes, got the anarchist spools from Dwayne, thanks to you. Oh, good. I'm glad you got... Thanks, British Eyes. Brad, very gracious of you. Have you seen the Juul C age verification app? I have not. But I had this idea forever ago of having a fingerprint scanner on your pod so that you have to pair your age-verified fingerprint with the device so that no one else could pick it up and use it. I thought that was a pretty good idea. It seems like that's what they're going to be doing. Oh, man. We're so short on time. I don't care. There's a simple way to curb youth vaping, and it isn't a flavor ban. Oh, this is all sorts of fucked up. Can I zoom in? Yeah, sure. Here we go. That's perfect. A few weeks ago, officials from the Trump administration threatened to ban all flavored e-cigarettes, although plans for the regulation are still in the works. Some state and municipal level bans have already taken effect or could do so much more quickly. But if the goal of these regulations is to cut down on teen vaping, there could be a better way, changing the kind of nicotine available in e-juice to make it harder to inhale. Yes, I don't care. We're going to go late because I want to read this. I want to read this whole thing. While surveys show that flavors inspired by fruits, cereal, or baked goods are a big draw for high school vapers, it's the addictive nicotine that will keep them hooked. Has it been shown? Has that been shown? I feel like has that been shown? By the same company, by the same article. All right, well, that's something else to read, but we're going to get back here. While surveys show, all right, over the years, tobacco companies have figured out a way to make the natural nicotine found in tobacco even more potent, and e-cigarette companies have followed suit. The first trick, discovered decades ago by tobacco companies, is to add a little extra ammonia. This helps free nicotine from its natural chemical constraints, creating so-called freebase nicotine that hits the lungs and bloodstream faster. The trouble is, it doesn't feel great to breathe in. Freebase nicotine is pretty basic, says Thomas Eisenberg, a health psychologist at Virginia Commonwealth University, as in, it has a pH much higher than 7. Regardless of whether the substance is acidic or basic, the farther away from 7 it is, the more corrosive it will be. Freebase nicotine has a pH of around 9, and household bleach has a pH of around 12.5. While our lungs can take in some freebase nicotine, after a while, they need a break. So the tobacco industry found another way to make nicotine easier to take in, turning it into a salt. Salts, chemically speaking, are made of two components with positive and negative charges, opposites that attract, keeping them stuck together. In the case of nicotine salts, the nicotine molecule has an extra positively charged hydrogen ion or proton tacked on, giving it a pH closer to neutral 7. This pronated nicotine used in most cigarettes will still make you cough, but it does go down smoother. The first e-cigarette that hit the market in the mid-2000s contained freebase nicotine. So, yeah, okay, that's accurate. I will say that that's accurate. I was going to have a bone to pick there, but I don't. The first e-cigarettes that hit the market in mid-2000s contained freebase nicotine, the same harsh substance commonly used in cigars and pipe tobacco. But soon, vape manufacturers started capitalizing on the smoother nicotine salts. Juul was one of the first companies to get on board. As The Verge reported back in 2008, Juul founders caught wind of the nicotine salt trick as early as 2013, 2 years before they started selling their e-cigarettes. Technically, the first company to use nicotine salts was British American Tobacco, whose vapes were known as Vuse. The startup patented a way to make pronated nicotine with any number of carboxylic acids. On its pod ingredient list, Juul states that it uses one called benzoic acid. Remember the benzoic acid thing? Remember when benzoic acid was in, it still is in Juul, but remember when a lot of people discovered this and it was like a big thing. People were anti-Juul. More people should have been anti-Juul, but people were really anti-Juul for a while because of this benzoic acid. A lot of the vapors who have been using freebase nicotine this whole time were like, I don't need nicotine salts. I don't need benzoic acid in there. We don't even know what benzoic acid does. Benzoic acid makes it much easier for you to vape real high nicotine. That small tweak no doubt helped make e-cigarettes more appealing to all vapers, including young users. Today, surveys show that more than 25% of high schoolers have vaped within the past 30 days, compared with 12% just 2 years ago. And Yes, I am so thankful that they said 25% of high schoolers have vaped within the past 30 days. Not 25% of high schoolers are vapers. That's a very, very important distinction to make. Very important distinction to make. As cigarette smoking among youth dropped off, vaping started to climb. Then we get this chart. Cigarette and e-cigarette use among high schoolers. Yeah, you can see it right there. E-cigarettes, obviously, and I hate, back to the chart in a second. I need to rant for a second. I hate that the term e-cigarette has come back into like popular use. This was a term that we were trying to get away from for years and years and years. When I first started it, everyone was called them e-cigarettes. And then we decided we can't call them e-cigarettes anymore. What do we call them? Mods. That's what we decided on. Mods. These aren't e-cigarettes, they're mods. We called them PVs for a while. The PV, we can call them PVs again. Personal vaporizers, PVs. We call them PVs. And now the e-cigarette rhetoric is back. E-cigarettes up, combustible cigarettes way, way down. Down. That doesn't even, between 2011 and 2019, that line barely is an accurate representation of how far youth smoking has actually dropped. Eisenberg thinks that it wasn't the flavors that drew American teens in, although they're certainly an appeal. Instead, he thinks that the smooth, pronated nicotine is the culprit because it doesn't feel like smoking. One study published earlier this year from researchers at Stony Brook University in New York found that some teens didn't even realize they were vaping nicotine when they were using e-cigarettes. 4 years ago, we had kids using e-cigarettes, but we didn't have these huge spikes until Juul started selling their product, Eisenberg says. The uncomfortably high pH of Freebase nicotine means the body can essentially self-regulate how much it takes in at once. When it was Freebase, we didn't have an epidemic of kids vaping, he says. Nicotine salts may also make it easier to sell e-juice with even more nicotine because of its deceptively smooth taste. Prior to Juul, most e-cigarettes contained around 36 milligrams of nicotine per milliliter of vape juice, Eisenberg says. And that's on the really, really high end. Prior to Juul in vape shops, I don't think you would have seen 36 milligram. In 2015, 2016, everyone was on 3 or 6. Everyone was on 3 or 6. I don't remember going to a vape show where anybody had anything other than 3 or 6. That's just what was being vaped at that time. Juul advertises that its pods contain about 59 milligrams per milliliter. An independent analysis done by researchers at the American University of Beirut and published in the BMJ journal Tobacco Control, though, found that they actually contained closer to 69 milligrams per milliliter. 69 milligrams per milliliter. 69. I'm vaping 3. What you're vaping matters, even if it's just lower nicotine levels. That's something they're not even talking about in these is what nicotine, is it just kids using Juuls that are having these lung injuries? That's THC dab carts. But the ones that are confessing to using nicotine and THC, what nicotine are they using? Are they using salt nicotine? Are they using Freebase nicotine? Again, this comes back to lawmakers and policymakers not bothering to understand what they're trying to regulate. And that doesn't account for people vaping knockoff products or e-juices they've mixed themselves that have even higher concentrations of nicotine. The more nicotine in an e-cigarette, the easier it is to smoke, the easier it is for people, particularly new smokers like teens, to become hooked. But the national conversation around e-cigarette regulations remain focused on banning flavors to deter youth vaping. Many have pointed out why a flavor ban could be a bad idea. It could lead to vapers mixing e-juice at home with potentially dangerous ingredients, which is 8,000% true. And this isn't them. I don't feel like this is them necessarily coming down on DIY mixing or anything like that. But what a politician does when they enact this flavor ban is they take that component of e-liquid out of the hands of professionals in a ISO certified pharmaceutical food grade laboratory mixing environment. They take that component and they pass that off to the consumer, and they say, well, no, you can't get this pre-mixed together in a store, but you can buy it separately and mix the dangerous ingredients yourself together. Is that protecting public health? I don't think this is coming down on DIY. I think this is coming down on mixing your e-liquid at home. If you're not informed and you're not aware of what you're doing, you could potentially mix up some dangerous shit. You absolutely could, especially with flavorings and flavorings that don't list whether they're water soluble or they're oil based. These are things you have to look out to. If you're going to get into DIY, the only person I can recommend to you is Wayne over there at DIY or Die. I don't DIY, so I don't watch a lot of what Wayne does, but he's knowledgeable and he understands this, and he can safely guide people to DIY with potentially dangerous ingredients. It also goes on to say it could lead to vapers hoarding sweet cartridges and selling them at a premium to teens, or it could lead to vapers switching back to smoking tobacco cigarettes in the face of having no good way to quit. If the goal is to get kids to stop smoking, one of the first steps should be getting rid of pronated nicotine, says Eisenberg. All a regulatory agency would have to do is pass a regulation that says no e-cigarette liquid sold in the United States can have a pH less than 9. No e-cigarette liquid sold in the U.S. can have a pH less than 9. It's not clear when the Food and Drug Administration will be enforcing the national flavor ban on e-cigarettes. It's not clear when the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, which would be enforcing the national ban on flavored e-cigarettes, will make its decision. There you go. Screen capture away. No e-cigarette liquid sold in the U.S. can have a pH less than 9. I think that's a completely reasonable thing to do. And unfortunately, this is a very complicated answer to a very complicated question. And this is going to be something that's hard to communicate on social media or on Twitter and things like this. How do you get on Twitter and be like, it's a pH issue, it's alkalinity, it's acidic nicotine. It's just read this article. That's what it's. Read this article. That's what it comes down to. And the problem is, it's up to us to educate politicians. It's up to us to educate these people. It's up to us to educate the public. I want to give a huge shout out to Demetrius Agrafiotis and the Tennessee Smoke-Free Association. They put together a wonderful infographic about all of this that's going on, nicotine versus cannabis versus THC and what's going on, and it's really well done. And I posted on Twitter, and it was basically like, look, because the FDA and the CDC aren't going to properly communicate this to everybody, I guess it's falling on us, the industry, to communicate this properly to everybody. So I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm going to put this in the description of this video as well. But look, we learned a little bit today about nicotine, in my opinion. And the pH, acidity, alkalinity can have a pH of no less than 9, I think is brilliant. Because when you have Freebase nicotine, this 12 milligram hits me. We used to call that throat hit. Throat hit. Hits me right in the throat. It's 12 milligrams. It feels substantial. It feels like I'm inhaling something more than air. It's lower nicotine. And it's like I said in the video, I don't know, last week, when teens didn't care about vaping for years until the Juul arrived, until the Juul showed up, until the Juul was here with their 69 milligram salt nicotine, alkaline, completely neutral salt nicotine, that youths started vaping. And I blame that. Thank you, Jeremy V. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you're here and you're watching and you're enjoying yourself, and even if you're not, you can hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. I mean, it would help me out a lot. It would help me out a lot. You can hit that like button. Smash it. Punch it. Stab it. Throw your mod at your computer. Okay. No, nobody do that. Nobody do that. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Yeah. pH, less than 9, 18 milligram. Kids didn't care about vaping. Kids didn't care about vaping because it was too harsh. That's what I always heard. That's what it's always heard. Too harsh. Too harsh. Even in the early days when I would let smokers try my setups and try my K-Fun, 18 milligram, too harsh. Oh, it's too harsh. Yeah, it is. That's how you're going to regulate the nicotine in your system, is with this harsh nicotine. That's how you're able to self-regulate and self-administer your own medicine. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But look, I feel like we all learned a little bit about nicotine. What I'm going to try to do moving forward is get all my vlogs and Tuesday Bro Tuesday. You need a second monitor now, Scrap? What original? I'm sorry about that. Aegis X versus a laptop. Ugh, yeah, sorry. Laptop's going to lose that battle. 100%, 200%. Tom, go jump on Twitter. I'm just going to tell everybody, jump on Twitter. Find me on Twitter. You can find that graphic. I just posted on Twitter just today. That's where I was going with this. In addition to vaping existing for years and teens not caring about it, and then suddenly Juul comes in with their Big Tobacco playbook, page right out of the Big Tobacco playbook. Let's make our product as addictive as possible. They set out to make the most addictive product possible, and they succeeded. And the FDA allowed this to happen. This is 8,000% the FDA's fault. They are well aware of vaping. They rolled out the deeming regs in 2016, before the 60 milligram youth spike vaping issue. Before that, they knew, and they allowed it to happen. Not one person from the FDA, nothing. The FDA allowed this to happen and flourish on the market and did nothing about it. Nothing about it. Yeah, I remember when kids thought vaping was lame and called you a douche. I couldn't even tell you how many kids and youths called these things douche flutes. Douche flutes. Yeah, douche flutes. So kids used to not care about vaping. So let me get through these super chats. We're going to wrap this up. I hope everybody learned a little bit about nicotine today. And like I said, what I got off track was, I'm sorry, if it goes away, you got to refresh it. Yeah, just try a refresh. Refresh should work. On my end, it's fine. I think. I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. It went a little bit potato there, but what are you going to do? You can't survive that. Potato ruins everything. Potato ruins everything. I hope we learned something about nicotine. And like I said, like I've been trying to say is all vlogs and all Tuesday Bro Tuesdays are going to get converted to podcast format. If that's your preferred listening method, if that's how you want to consume media is through podcasts. It's all on my SoundCloud, all the vlogs and the Tuesday Bro Tuesdays. They're a little bit scattered because I need to get into the habit of doing them. I forget. And that's what happens. But I'm trying to make these all podcasts so you can listen to them at your own leisure. Let's finish up these last two super chats. Eifer, let's watch our Systematics personal vaporizers. SPV. You want to call it an SPV? I'm fine with calling them PVs. I called them PVs for years. In fact, if you go back to my YouTube and click on any video from like 2011, I think PV was the only terminology I was using. PVs. Never really stuck. PV? Is that my PV? I'm going to start calling them PVs again. Personal vaporizers. Wouldn't a great way to spread info be with music? A few catchy shareable songs with profits going to CASA? I'm 100% on board with that. Let's write some tunes. Let's write some Vape Revolution tunes. Let's write some tobacco harm reduction tunes. I'm all for it. All for it, you guys. All for it. So That's Tuesday, Bro Tuesday, you guys. I'll put all the links that we talked about in the description of this here video. I hope we all learned a little bit about nicotine. Remember, there's not going to be a vlog this particular week, but I think next Tuesday, on Tuesday, Bro Tuesday, we are going to get into how the media will just never be held accountable for all of the hogwash that they are spouting off, these nonsense words. How they're purposefully making things confusing and misleading and conflicting each other and conflating these two issues together. I want the media to be held responsible, and I don't think they're going to be held responsible, so I want to take as much time as I can to publicly shame them. Publicly shame them. Remember Michigan. Remember Arizona. Remember the lawsuits. Remember that we are making such a big impact that they think that we're bots. Remember that we are making this huge impact. You might not see it right away. You might not see it, but it's happening. It's happening. It's happening because of Governor Gretchen Whitmer and her medical particles. So I'm just going to hang out here with my Nicotine, vaping it in my douche flute, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day here, and I hope you guys all have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me again, and no matter what any crooked politician tells you, always, I'll put the Twisted Messes logo out. Always, that's right. Let's keep on vaping.